The windscreen wiper was patented in 1903 and nobody bought it. Mary Anderson was visiting New York in the winter. She was riding a streetcar and it was sleeting. The driver was operating with the front window panes folded open because a closed window covered in wet snow shows nothing at all, and leaning out into the weather was the only way to see the track. She sketched something on the way home to Alabama: a rubber blade on an arm outside the glass, a spring to hold it against the curve, and a lever inside that the driver could turn with one hand. Turn the lever, the arm sweeps, let go, the spring returns it. The patent was granted in 1903. She offered it to a Canadian firm in 1905 and was told it had no commercial value. She was not wrong about the need. She was early. There were very few cars, and those who had them mostly did not drive in bad weather. By the time closed cars were normal and wipers were fitted as standard, her patent had expired in 1920. She never earned anything from it. The improvement everybody now uses came later and went to court over it. Robert Kearns worked out the intermittent wiper, the pause between sweeps, in the 1960s and spent decades in litigation with the motor industry over who owned it. The wiper is the only control on a car that has not really changed shape in a century. It is a rubber strip on a sprung arm, sweeping an arc exactly as drawn on the way home from a cold day in New York. The white line down the middle came from something spilled. For the first years of motoring the middle of the road was a matter of opinion. Two vehicles met and negotiated. On a wide road, that is fine. On a narrow one at night, in rain, it is not. The Road Commission of Wayne County, Michigan, tells the story like this. Edward Hines was riding behind a milk wagon that was leaking and watched the white trail it left down the road and saw what that trail was doing. It was dividing the road into two halves without anybody saying a word. A center line was painted on River Road in 1911. The account comes from the commission itself, and there is no independent record of the wagon, which is worth saying. There is a second person in this story who is very well documented. June McCarroll was a doctor in the Coachella Valley in California who was run off the road by a lorry that had drifted across. She proposed a painted line, was ignored, and in 1917 went out and painted about 3 kilometers of center line herself by hand. She then spent 7 years persuading the state to adopt it, and in 1924, California did. Lines became a system slowly, a broken line where you may cross, a solid one where you may not, a double line, then colors. The reflective glass beads that make paint glow in headlights came in the 1930s. There is nothing physical about a painted line. It stops nothing and blocks nothing. It is an agreement lying on the ground that almost everybody keeps. The seatbelt that everybody uses was given away on purpose. Cars had belts before 1959, and they were poor. A single strap across the lap held you in a crash but folded you over it. A separate diagonal strap over the shoulder needed 2 hands and 2 buckles to fasten, and people did not bother. Nils Bohlin was an engineer at Volvo who had come from the aircraft industry, where he had worked on ejection seats, which is a field with a very direct interest in how a body is held. His design put the 2 straps together into one piece anchored at 3 points, with a single buckle low at the hip. The reason it took over the world is that it can be fastened correctly with one hand, in a second without looking, by somebody who does not care. Any design that requires attention is not used. That was the whole of the problem, and he solved it with geometry rather than with instruction. Volvo fitted it as standard in 1959. Then the company did the unusual thing. It made the patent open, so that any other manufacturer could use the design without paying, on the grounds that a safety device is worth more in every car than in one make of car. Every car built since has the same three-point geometry. The buckle in your hand is a Swedish design from the year the microchip was invented, given away by the company that owned it, and unchanged since.